when you talk about people that you don't like. We had today a meeting at the New York Times. We met the editor-in-chief, and we were at the news meeting of the New York Times. We could join them. And this is really a beacon of hope of journalism, or in journalism, the New York Times. So my question is, you are all creative people. How has the situation in this country changed since President Trump is at the White House? Is it something that people like you, creative people, have to react in any form? Is it so? What is your opinion about creative people in a country under a President Trump?
I think things got better.
I don't know what that word means.
No, seriously.
I mean, I don't know what being.
I think it got better.
Creative. Most people just do their job, right? They're professional, and you're lucky if they do. So the creative part comes because there are people who don't know exactly what they're doing and hope they'll stumble into something. That is not a very good product to offer to a client. He hopes that you already know what the answer is, as he does, and he's just waiting for you to show it to him. There's so much mischief about the word creative, as though this is a metaphysical characteristic that only certain people have. It's nonsensical. That whole mythology about creativity and the ramifications of creativity are basically a way of people separating themselves from others and for a position in the field that enables them to get more and better paying work. I mean, when people use that word, I always get very jumpy.
Let me explain it a little bit. The people from the New York Times say that this country is divided. There are the fans of President Trump. They ignore every fact. They are not interested in the truth. They listen to him, and whatever he says, they say, okay, this is the president, we like it. 35% of the Americans have this opinion. That's true. And there's the other America. And the question is, how do you work? How do you live in such a country? What does this mean for your personal lives? And does this affect in any way your work or your life?
Here's what's really crazy, at least from my experience and my point of view with this whole thing. Maybe this is what you're getting. I don't work or know anybody who supports Donald Trump. So that some of my experience with my clients are totally bonding in the hatred. You know, so that there's this sort of forged relationship that happens immediately. And I know that where I live, where my weekend house is, there's a whole sea of people I know who support Donald Trump. And they live up there, and they are blue-collar workers. They're poor. They live in a town called Canaan, Connecticut. And I see them, and I know that they hate me when I go into Staples and I buy things, because they are this other side of America that we're not communicating against. And this is the sort of thing that makes me nervous as a designer, because our job is actually to communicate to these broad audiences. But the fact of the matter is that within my daily working life, I do not work with anyone who is in any way connected to Donald Trump. All we do is seethe about the newspaper. All we do is seethe about whatever the thing is, you know. And then I think, what can I do? Should you make a poster? No, that's not going to help. What do you do with this thing? The most creative idea I had was organizing a bunch of people to buy apartments in Philadelphia so we could vote in Pennsylvania. I mean, I think that the true answer is that the people I know have to move to the middle to sort of affect the voting, because it is this crazy thing I've never seen before in my whole entire life. I don't know what to make of it.
You can easily say that Trump is the most creative president we've ever had. The one who basically understands how to disrupt expectation in a way that no one else can imagine. Every day you wake up and you say, what could he have done today? He will never do anything that will accord with your idea of what he should have done or what any other reasonable human being would have done. He has an imagination that's perhaps as fervent as Picasso's. Although I would never tell him that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good comparison. Picasso and Trump.
He is a media genius, though. There's no question about it. I mean, because he distracts. Like there's a thing, I think it was the Washington Post runs it, like, you know, six things that happened this week while you were paying attention to the news play, and they're horrible. They're all bad. I had to stop reading it. It was so depressing.
Well, you'd have to also call him a designer. I mean, if you're talking about someone who shapes experience for others, that's what he does. He basically shapes the entire world's experience. In a way, you'd have to call him a master designer, and you'd have to call him creative. You have to use a language that doesn't seem to make sense at first when applied to him, but ultimately you realize this is an unprecedented man who has learned all about design, motivation, advertising, and show business.
And the
uses all
Electoral
those
College.
mechanisms.
And the Electoral College, because because he's succeeding with 38%. You're not supposed to succeed with 38%. You're supposed to succeed with 51%. This is like he's succeeding with a minority. So it's not just the population. You're talking about the notion of parsing Electoral College votes against the, I mean, whoever was the successful president hovering between 41 and 38. There's not in my lifetime. Do you remember that?
But
Never.
don't you also...
I'm sorry, I go crazy when
Don't
the
you think
subject comes up.
that a really great designer has to have a sense of responsibility? Like good responsibility?
All of us think that, yes.
And wow, he has none.
Yeah.
Zero.
Well, you're imposing that on something. Nobody ever said the designer had to have a sense of responsibility, because great designers in history didn't from time to time. I mean, that doesn't go intrinsically with the job itself. The thing about Trump as a designer is he figured out all these seemingly unrelated factors and unrelated people and unrelated events and so on, and used them to his advantage. Can you imagine a man as oppressive as he is, managing to control the entire world, which is what he's doing?
And ultimately, like, you know, I'm normally not a big friend of calling every profession a designer, but in Trump's case, he definitely calls himself a brander. Like, you know, he definitely sees his entities, definitely his hotel entities, but also, you know, like his real estate entities as branding exercises. Or when he called, you know, certain people certain names, you know, you see Trump Jr. Tweeting, "This is branding gold," or hashtag branding gold. So they are definitely in that world and have been, you know, incredibly successful at it. I had actually today, when I walked here, we had a difficult day at the studio, and when I walked here to the interview, I felt a little bit sorry for myself because it was a tough day. And I see the daily news lying around and was just reminded of, you know, past the newsstand, of all the stuff that just happened in the, let's say, the last 3 days, you know, that he was bringing in Bolton, we had the Stormy Weathers interview, and in some ways, I can also not imagine what kind of pressure this guy is under. Like, you know, I mean, the amount of shit that's happening in his life, like, you know, with, what does his vibe say?
Oh, I do. I think every move is about the fear of Mueller. You know, like, I mean, I think that's.
What was the question?
Okay, we changed the topic. So what inspires you? Completely different than Trump. Jan. Not politics, probably.
No. I think inspiration, is, again, I mean, I'm going to go back to hard work again. Like I need time. I think if I wouldn't have time, I would be a horrible designer, I would say. Like I think I can only be somewhat okay if I have long time.
Those acts of genius With me too, very few and very far in between. It's like very rarely you luck into one thing that, at the client meeting you're just doing it. But normally it's a pain in the ass and it's really hard work.
Yeah, so in a way, I think time is more important than anything else in my practice. Like if I don't have time, I can't do anything. So I'm a shit designer without time. I'm totally useless. I can't do anything. So I need time, and I'm fine if this is all by myself. Like I don't need to travel to places. I could be okay with.
Chip, do you need time as well?
Well, I think we all do. But in my particular business, great writing. That's my inspiration.
Do you read the books before you design the cover?
No, I don't bother.
Parts of it?
I don't bother. Why would I do that? Oh, and Batman.
400 pages each book. How many books do you have to design in average per month?
It all depends. And as Milton said, like all the authors are different, just like all the clients are different. So if it's a biography of Marlon Brando, I know who he is already, and I've seen the movies, and so the superficial challenge is this has to look like a unique biography of Marlon Brando rather than like all the others, and you look at what everybody else has done or whatever. But like right now, I'm in the middle of reading the next big novel and manuscript by Haruki Murakami, and so I'm just you read every single word of all 800 pages of it. You have to, because you never know what part of that is going to put the idea into your head of what to do.
Are you then can you enjoy the reading, or are you sort of like on your toes for, is the pink coming, is the pink coming?
All of that. Like I remember reading Cormac McCarthy's The Road in manuscript. Oh my God. I mean, that was, and it's so interesting because you're reading it before everybody else gets to, which is kind of neither here nor there, but you're reading it in a very raw form. And it just has to, it either works or it doesn't. But boy, that was quite an experience. And I'll be the first to say, like, I don't think the jacket that I did was all that great at all. It kind of did what it needed to do. But what a great book, yes.
One question regarding digitalization. Everything that can be digitized will be digitized. So what does the digitization mean for graphics design? Does it change your work entirely, or the way
you can't digitize the smell of ink on paper.
That's true.
The end.
Okay, thank you very much. One last question. It was a great pleasure, Chip. As you know, we have an OOOM New York issue, and there are 5 exceptional graphic designers. What would you recommend should be on a New York issue of a magazine? On the New York issue of OOOM Magazine, what should be on the cover? What is typical for New York? What should we put on the cover?
I need time for this, so I cannot answer. I cannot answer anything. Don't ask me now.
Of course, Mad did that in the 70s.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
No,
that's not. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time. It was really a pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.